Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
All right, welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. And as always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia, and it is now, let's see, let me bring out my calendar. I think it's today's the 13th. It is now day 7. Day 12 or day 10, I believe, without football. All right. Yeah, should be day 10 without football. All right, we're in the off season. We're going strong. We still got a lot of more days going on. I'm going to keep trying to do this whole little day, whatever, since our last football game because, I don't know, feels like it keeps us loose. Feel like we'll keep us waiting for football. All right. But nonetheless, day 10, all right, we still got stuff to talk about. The NFL never sleeps. All right, they took a page out of the NBA's book. NBA, year-round, always got some type of story going on, whether it's Kyrie Irving getting traded to the Celtics, whether it's Isaiah Thomas and LeBron James beefing during the season. There's always something going on. And notice those two stories I named had to do with the Cavs. But nonetheless, all right, today we will be talking about, let's see, what are we talking about? We're talking about Colts getting their head coach. We're going to talk about whether or not pretty much what that means for them, whether or not it's a better hire than it would have been for Josh McDaniels, what it means for the Eagles too, because obviously they got the Colts hired the Eagles offensive coordinator to become their head coach. So we'll be talking about that for the first segment, pretty much talk about everything that has to do with it. All right, we'll also be talking about cultures in the NFL, okay, talking about the Patriots culture, talking about other teams' cultures, all right, because Lane Johnson on the Part of My Take podcast from Barstool Sports said that he feels that the Patriots want more of a fear-based type of organization, type culture, and he feels like it'd be better to play for a team like the Eagles where he could have more fun at his job. All right, so I'll give my thoughts about that. Pretty much, just give my opinion because that's all I can do here. All right, just give my opinion. We'll talk about that. Johnny Manziel trying to make his comeback. We'll talk about him. Talk about how it's lazy to compare Baker Mayfield to him. And we're going to talk about teams who haven't won a Super Bowl yet since they've been in the NFL. All right, we're going to talk about teams like, let's see, who are we talking about? Teams like the Jags. Talk about the Browns, the Panthers, the Bills, the Lions, the Texans, Falcons, Bengals, Cardinals, Chargers, Vikings, Titans. We'll talk about those teams. Maybe we'll have to split it up. Let's see, there's 12 teams. Maybe we'll go 6 teams with one segment, talk about the other 6 in the next. We're probably going to do that, all right? We'll pick 6 teams to talk about their chances as far as getting back to the getting to the Super Bowl and winning it, all right? And like I said, for the other segment, we'll talk about the other 6. So that's what we're going to do today. And like I said, for the 4th segment, if we have time, we'll still talk about anything else going on in the world of football. All right, so that's the intro, as you know. Now let's talk Indianapolis Colts. The Colts finally got their guy, all right? I mean, the guy that they wanted the first time didn't really work out, so they got their second choice, okay? I'm not even sure if this was their second choice either. I have no clue if they interviewed Frank Reich for the head coaching job while they were interviewing McDaniels too. So, I mean, maybe they got their third choice, fourth choice, but nonetheless, the Colts have a head coach, and yes, they officially have a coach, like for reals. All right, it's not like they're tweeting out Josh McDaniels is officially the head coach, and the guy hasn't even signed anything. Nope, this guy Frank Reich, he signed something, and now he's already had his press conference done. So I'm pretty sure there's no backing out for him here. So like I said, Colts got their guy. All right, like I said, not the first choice, but they got a guy. What do I think of it? I like it. Okay, he said that in his press conference, the Colts are going to run a multiple attack, fast-paced type offense. All right, what does multiple attack mean to you guys when you hear it as far as football goes and the offensive, well, not the offensive coordinator, the head coach is talking about it. All right, multiple attack to me means that they're going to be running the ball, or they're going to be passing the ball, and they're going to be running the ball. Obviously, I said passing the ball first, or meant to, because obviously we know what's going to happen. But the Colts have never really been a team known to run the football and have really good running backs. All right, yeah, they've had Frank Gore for the last couple of years, but Frank Gore, I mean, he's past his prime. He's been past his prime. All right. And, I mean, other than that, I mean, the last solid running back they had was Edgerrin James. All right, I might be missing some. No, I'm not missing anyone, actually. Maybe Ahmad Bradshaw for 1 year. But other than that, I mean, I'm not going to count Ahmad Bradshaw, all right? That does not count. All right, so yeah, the Colts got their head coach, Frank Reich. I like the hire, all right? Obviously, if you paid attention to what he did in Philadelphia, that Eagles offense was playing well. I can't remember exactly if it was Doug Peterson calling the plays, but nonetheless, if you're the offensive coordinator, you got to have those players ready and prepared to pretty much run what the coach wants you to run. All right, so he had them prepared, ready to go. Obviously, this Eagles team was playing extremely well. And that's going to be a bit of a tough one for the Eagles to lose there. All right, actually, the Eagles, let's get into the Colts. This is their segment. Let's not take anything away from them. Let's talk about the Colts. We'll talk about the Eagles towards the end of the segment, all right? But let's talk about Frank Reich. I like the hire, okay? I like the fact that he says he wants to run a multiple attack offense, all right, and fast-paced. You know what that makes me think about? That makes me think about Andrew Luck playing quarterback and Saquon Barkley being the running back. All right, because in most mock drafts, if you've seen, all right, it's been Bradley Chubb or Saquon Barkley. That's who the Colts are taking. Obviously, they're not taking a quarterback. Obviously, the running or wide receivers aren't good enough to take that high, and obviously, they're not going towards the secondary or anything like that. So I think they're going best player available. It's either Bradley Chubb or Saquon Barkley. If I'm the Colts and this coach is serious about that multiple attack, fast-paced offense, that means they're going to be drafting Saquon Barkley. All right? Just imagine. Just close your eyes. All right? Actually, if you're driving, don't close your eyes because I know a lot of people like to drive and listen to podcasts. So if you're driving, don't close your eyes. Just think. All right? If you're just sitting here, listen to this at home or whatever, then you can close your eyes. All right? So think about it. Imagine a team with Andrew Luck as quarterback where he's healthy and Saquon Barkley is the running back. Oh, yeah, by the way, you got T.Y. Hilton as your number one receiver. And you got Jack Doyle, who I'm already on the hype train for him. I think if Andrew Luck is back there, out there next year and he's healthy, Jack Doyle is going to be one of the better tight ends in the league. All right? So you got him out there. That's a pretty nice offense. That's an offense that could compete in the AFC South. Okay? So I like it. I hope they draft Barkley. I really think they should. But the Colts front office really hasn't been too smart as far as drafting players the last, when was Peyton Manning come into the league? 1998? So the last about 19, 20 years, about there. We're going on 20, I guess you could say. So we'll see. But now that the Colts have Frank Reich, you got analysts, writers talking about how they actually got the better hire. All right? This is a better hire than Josh McDaniels would have been. Okay, and I think that's more media's trying to push a narrative rather than it's the Colts getting their guy. All right, because let's put it this way. Yeah, Josh McDaniels in Denver didn't work out at all. Was a dumpster fire there. All right, and if you haven't noticed, that's one of my favorite phrases to use, dumpster fire. All right, so he didn't work out in Denver. Comes back to New England. And, I mean, New England's offense, as Josh McDaniels has been there, has been pretty good. All right, that might be an understatement there. But New England's offense, when Josh McDaniels wasn't there, was still pretty good. All right, so let's put it this way. I'm saying I'm not sure really how much influence Josh McDaniels had on that team. All right, Bill Belichick could easily replace him and still have a solid offense. I have no doubts. All right. So, I mean, who knows if McDaniels would have worked out with the Colts. But do I think that Frank Reich is a better hire than Josh McDaniels? I have no clue. And believe it or not, neither does anyone else. Because let me tell you something. Let's say this Frank Reich guy, all right? Yeah, great guy, whatever. Ran a great offense in Philly, all right? Great coach. Now he's with the Colts. People are saying he's a better hire than Josh McDaniels. Let's say Frank Reich, this guy, he doesn't work. Let's say it doesn't go well in Indianapolis. Do we still think it's a better hire than Josh McDaniels if he doesn't work out? Do we? I don't think we do. All right? It's all it's just narratives trying to be pushed. All right, because look at it this way. I'll tell you exactly how it's going to go. Let's say Frank Reich doesn't work out. with the Colts and just can't cut it or whatever, you know what they're going to do? They're going to try and spin it. All right, it's a little media term. Spin it to where it looks like it's not the Colts' fault. They had their guy. They had Josh McDaniels, right? They were going to hire him. They didn't want this Frank Reich guy, right? They didn't want him. They wanted Josh McDaniels, okay? But Josh McDaniels turned him down at the very last second, literally. All right, so it's not the Colts' fault. You can't get mad at them. They didn't get their guy. So that's where this is going right now, all right? They're setting it up to where if Frank Reich succeeds, then it was a better hire than McDaniels and the Colts were better off. If Frank Reich doesn't succeed, then they're going to spin it to where it's not the Colts' fault. All right, they wanted Josh McDaniels, but he turned him down last segment, so they had to go and get this guy out of the street. All right, obviously he's not out of the street. He's out of the Super Bowl winning champions. All right, but nonetheless, that's how they're going to spin it. That's how they do things, okay? That's crazy. I'm a genius. But nonetheless, let's talk about Philly. All right, Philly is losing their offensive coordinator. So what do? Oh, yeah, let's promote our quarterbacks coach to our offensive coordinator position since that's one of the widely wanted guys around the league. And I'm pretty sure if it hasn't already happened, that John Filippo, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, is going to become the offensive coordinator for Vikings. That's what it's looking like. All right? That's a lot of, it's a big part of your offensive coaching staff gone. All right? Yeah, I think Doug Peterson was calling the plays, but nonetheless, you still need guys under there to, like I said, put players in the right positions to succeed and get them ready to run the game plan that the coach wants to run. All right, John Filippo, all right, did well with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was going to win the MVP this year before he blew out his knee. All right, next quarterback comes out. Sure enough, Nick Foles gets him to the Super Bowl and helps him beat Tom Brady, and they win it. All right. This is a bit kind of worrisome for the Eagles. They're losing a lot of good guys from that coaching staff. I think they kept most of their defensive coaching staff intact, if not all of it. All right, but you did lose two big pieces on that offense. Okay? And I believe in Doug Peterson enough to find two nice little replacements, but it's going to be tough. All right, Carson Wentz is going to be going into his third year. Usually a guy like that needs his quarterback's coach to pretty much help him learn still. Carson Wentz does not know everything, all right? No matter how good he is. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out for Philly. Let's put it this way, all right? Imagine this, butterfly effect, okay? Colts are supposed to hire Josh McDaniels. Colts hire Josh McDaniels. Frank Reich doesn't leave the Eagles, okay? Stays as the offensive coordinator. Big part of it still there. John Filippo. That's a fun last name to say. But nonetheless, he probably ends up going to Minnesota still. Okay? But now, since Josh McDaniels says never mind, we have this whole different future. All right? We got Frank Reich leaving the Eagles to go coach go coach the Colts. So now, due to the fact that Josh McDaniels changed his mind, the Eagles lose two offensive staffers. All right? Crazy how that works, isn't it? Just ridiculous. All right, so I think the Eagles are going to be fine, but they might be hurting a bit unless they find two little studs to go plug in there. As far as the Colts, again, I'm not going to tell you this is a better hire than Josh McDaniels would have been because we don't know. No one knows, all right? Don't listen to these analysts. They'll try and tell you they know everything, all right? About football, they don't, all right? They know some, but they don't know how the future ends up, all right? So that's all I got to say about that. Next up, we're going to be talking about New England Patriots team culture. We're going to talk about Philly team culture and pretty much talk about where you'd want to end up. All right, let's see. We're going to talk about anything else. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't for that segment. But for the rest of the show, like I said, we'll be doing that. We're going to split up. We're going to talk about Johnny Manziel too. Talk about his comeback. Maybe we'll just fit him in. Yeah, we're going to fit Johnny Manziel and the Patriots culture talk and all that in the next segment. And then for the last two segments, we're going to talk about the 12 teams that haven't won a Super Bowl yet. Going to talk about each team, 6 for the third segment, 6 for the fourth segment, and talk about how close they are to getting their first Super Bowl. So it's actually going to be a fun show, I feel. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. In that first segment, we talked about the Colts getting their head coach for the second time. I mean, first time officially, I guess you could say, but nonetheless, they got their guy. Talked about, this whole, is he a better hire than Josh McDaniels? Anyone that even gives, I'm being contradictory here because I gave it some light, but anyone that says, oh yeah, this is for sure a better hire than Josh McDaniels doesn't know. Because, the guy doesn't work out, then they're going to try and spin it to somewhere else. Spin it about something else, all right? So, don't really put too much stock as to whether Frank Reich would be a better hire than Josh McDaniels because we'll never know, okay? Because we're not going to know how well Josh McDaniels would have did with the Colts. Can't look to the past at Denver, what he did with Denver, and try and say, oh yeah, he'd do it at the Colts because you don't know, and neither do I. All right, if Reich works out with the Colts, then he works out. If he doesn't, then he doesn't. All right, so we'll see how it all ends up. But that's all I'm going to say about that. For this segment, though, we're going to talk about team cultures in the NFL. All right, Lane Johnson went on a podcast and said some things about how the Patriots run more of a fear-based type of organization. That's their type of culture. And the Eagles do not. And he'd rather be playing for a team like the Eagles, okay? So we're going to be talking about that. And we're going to be talking about good old Jonathan Football Manziel. All right? Talk about him trying to make his comeback. I'm very excited for that. All right? But we're going to save that for the second part of this segment. So let's talk about cultures. All right? Let's talk about team cultures. Let's get into it. All right. So New England Patriots, as we've known, been dominant since 2001. Belichick and Brady against the world. All right, dominating everything. Pretty much had a dictatorship over the NFL for how many years since 2001? 18, 17? All right, Jesse's not the best at math, so I think 17. All right, so yeah, since 2001, Brady and Belichick have ruled the NFL. Okay, we have things like the Patriot Way. We have things like do your job. All right, we have stuff like that coming out of New England. That's what they preach, and it's worked out pretty well. Okay. They've gotten 5 Super Bowls out of those 17 years. Could have been 8, but, Eli Manning and Nick Foles, All right. In the AFC Championship, year after year, it feels like. They get to beat up on Pittsburgh year after year, it feels like. All right. Sorry to my uncles that listen to this podcast, but New England beats up the Steelers constantly. All right. So the Patriots have pretty much been doing whatever they've wanted for 17 years. Okay. But Lane Johnson on the Pardon My Take podcast said that the Patriots run more of a fear-based organization, and he'd rather play for a team like the Eagles where you can go win a Super Bowl, all right, and you're going to have fun doing it. Okay, and that's where we're start here, okay? Let's talk about the Patriots. Yeah, they don't really have the most fun, okay, by any means. You can't tell me that you got guys like Chris Long and all those other guys that leave New England saying that, yeah, they learned a lot, happy they won. But the constant of it all, whenever they talk about leaving New England, talk about their past in New England, is that it wasn't fun, okay? It was intense, hard work, all right? Lots of playbook studying, all that stuff, but it was not fun. Okay, so I guess what the point is here is that there's a trade-off. You get Teddy Bruschi saying that, I had on NFL Live, I believe it was, or on a radio show. I can't remember which one it was, but nonetheless, it was on an ESPN thing, all right? He goes, I had tons of fun playing for the Patriots winning. And let me say this about Teddy Bruschi, okay? I'm not the biggest Teddy Bruschi fan because of the fact that the guy is such a homer. The guy, anything New England, all right? He will New England till death for him. All right, I understand, Teddy, you played for the Patriots. I understand that completely, but you kind of got to be impartial. You got to be professional if you're on a show like NFL Live. You can't always be Patriots this, Patriots that, the Patriot way. Can't always be doing that. All right? Sometimes, I mean, you're going to have to, and I know it's not often, but sometimes you're not going to have to be the Patriots spokesperson for ESPN. All right? Teddy Bruschi for, like, all right, so NFL Live, all those shows, they do picks. All right? They always do picks for games. I don't think I've ever seen Teddy Bruschi pick against the Patriots once. All right, and you'd be like, oh, yeah, the Patriots are good all the time. Why would he pick against the Patriots? I mean, sometimes you got to think they're going to lose unless you think they're going undefeated year after year. All right? There's got to be times like, you know what, they might be getting a loss here. All right? Because you can't go pick at the Patriots every game unless you think, like I said, they're going to go undefeated every year. And I highly doubt anyone thinks that. All right? I mean, people thought this year the Patriots were going to go undefeated, and they lost in the Super Bowl to Nick Foles. Let's talk about that for a second. All right, Eli Manning and Nick Foles, not your conventional all-time great QBs, okay? Not at all. Eli Manning is just a weird guy, all right? Just looks like he's out of it sometimes. I mean, just looks like he's spacing out, all right? Just really not paying attention too much. He's got that face, okay? It's pretty much just Eli Manning is just stuck in his thoughts. But he's beat Tom Brady twice. Nick Foles had one good year with the Eagles one time, 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. All right. Went off to the Rams, didn't work out there, became the backup for the Chiefs after that. Came back to the Eagles. What does he do? The journeyman quarterback for a few years goes and beats Tom Brady. Tom Brady he just can't beat top quarterbacks. Or he can't beat lower-level quarterbacks. All right, and I shouldn't be saying that about Eli Manning because I've been beating the drum all year that Eli Manning's a first-ballot Hall of Famer, and I still believe that, all right? But Eli Manning's just a weird guy. But getting back to the point, I mean, the Patriots, like I said, they do, I agree, they do run a fear-based type of culture in that organization, all right? But the payoff is that you get to win a lot of games and you get to go to the Super Bowl what seems like every other year, okay? And that's cool. But like I said, they treat it more of like in generally speaking, they run it more of like a 9-to-5 job. You're not there to have fun, all right? You're there to show up, do your job, go home, okay? They're like the beat writer who takes himself way too serious, all right? In reality, beat writers are just watching teams, watching players, watching people do their job and talking about it week after week, okay? Then you got the beat writers who understand that their job is supposed to be fun, understand that they have one of the best jobs in the world. All right? That's the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay? Philadelphia, yes, they go about their business. Yeah, they do their jobs. Yeah, they take it seriously, but it's not like football is the be-all, end-all where you got to do your job. All right, you can't have fun doing it. You got to be paying attention, yada, yada, yada. It's intense, strict, and all that. No, they realize we're playing a children's game for money. All right, they realize that. They understand that football's got to be fun. Okay? They get that. And what Lane Johnson is saying, he'd rather have that, go out and win a Super Bowl rather than pretty much be robots and go play for the Patriots and win a bunch of other times. All right, and it sounds weird because, I mean, obviously, you think winning is the everything in football or in professional sports. But, I mean, let me put it this way. Would you rather have a job that you hate, you can't stand, and you're you're successful at it, you make a lot of money? Yeah, let's put it that way. All right? You make a lot of money, okay? You make a lot of money, and you just can't stand it, though. You dread going to work. And I don't even know if dread is the right word because I doubt Patriots players dread going to work. It's just you're not enjoying it, okay? You're there, you're getting better at what you do, but you're not enjoying it. Or would you rather go work at the place where you make good amount of money, not what you'd make at the other company, but you make good amount and you love what you're doing, all right? Obviously, it's not like the money isn't as much as what you'd make over there, but nonetheless, you're making good money and you're enjoying it. Would you rather do that or would you do the other job where you have no fun? Okay. Me, personally, I'd pick the job where I make good money and I have fun. All right. Obviously, I have yet to have anyone hand me $1 million check telling me to come do something else. All right. Because, if somebody hands me $1 million check and say, do other people's taxes, I'm going to figure out a way to do other people's taxes for $1 million. Obviously, I know that's not how it works. All right. Don't take me too seriously. All right. But nonetheless, I'm just a guy who's trying to watch sports and talk about it for a living. Here I am. All right. I enjoy it. I don't take myself too seriously because I know I have one of the best opportunities ever doing this. All right. It's fun. I enjoy it. All right, but I'm sure there's other jobs out there besides being a sports podcaster, beat writer, or anything like that where you make a whole lot more money, obviously. But I'm not going to have that much fun doing it, so I'd rather be doing this. All right, I'm not saying I'm making money here or anything like that, but nonetheless, I'd rather be doing this, working to get to that goal I have, rather than trying to be an accountant or anything like that. I'm not trying to knock accountants because I know maybe some of them enjoy their jobs, but just to bring it back all together, I get what Lane Johnson is saying, and I get that whole I'd rather play for a team like the Eagles where I get to enjoy my job rather I go play for a team like the Patriots where I don't. All right, yeah, I'm successful, yeah, I make money, yeah, I win Super Bowls, but I'd rather go win a Super Bowl with the Eagles and have fun there. So it makes all the sense in the world to me. I get it completely, all right? And that's just one of the it's a give and take type of thing in the NFL. All right, you go play for the Patriots, you're not going to have the best time in the world, but nonetheless, you're going to go out, you're going to win ball games, and you're going to dominate. All right, and that's how they've been able to sustain their success for so long. With the Eagles, you're not going to do that. All right, the Eagles are a team where in about 6 years, they're probably not going to be as strong as they were now. Okay, that's how the NFL is. What the Patriots have done, this little dynasty that they put together, is unheard of. All right, it's crazy. It's probably never going to be replicated again, even when Bill Belichick and Brady leave. All right, because you're going to still have guys like Josh McDaniels who have learned under Belichick, but they're not going to be able to sustain the success that they have maintained for 17 years. It just doesn't happen. All right, so if I had to choose one, I'm heading to Philly. Okay, like I said, 7 years from now, Philly's probably not going to be as good as they are now. Probably going to be a team on the downfall, maybe even in 5 or 4 years, all right? Because the NFL, it's tough to be good for a while. Like I said, no one's ever done it besides the Patriots, all right? So, it's going to go back to normalcy, all right? It's like a cycle. One team gets good for a few years, and then eventually they go back down because it's hard to sustain, all right? No one has a culture like the Patriots. So, like I said, it's just more of a give and take type of thing, but that's really all I got to say about it. I know I said I was going to talk about Johnny Manziel for this segment, but I feel like I'm just going to push that over to the next one since we're already running out of time here. All right, I don't feel like I'd be able to get enough talking about Johnny Manziel, so I'm going to push that over to the next segment. And like I said, for the next segment, we're going to talk about Johnny Manziel. We're going to be talking about 6 teams that haven't won the Super Bowl yet. Talk about, out of those 6 teams that I picked to choose to talk about, we're going to talk about pretty much where they are now and how close they are to getting their first Super Bowl. So we'll be doing that. And then for the final segment, we'll be doing the other 6 teams, and we'll be talking about anything else going on in the world of football. So we've got a fun show left, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Podcast. So far, we've talked about the Colts, talked about the Eagles a bit. Let's see what else we talked about. We talked about different cultures in the NFL, specifically more so talking about the Patriots and the Eagles. Compared it to jobs, we had a little fun in that last segment. All right, because that's what we do. We have fun. All right, we just talk about sports. All right, and then for this segment, we're going to be talking about good old Johnny Football. We're going to talk about 6 teams that haven't won the Super Bowl yet, talk about their chances of winning one soon, pretty much talk about what they need to do, I guess you could say, to win a Super Bowl. And we're going to do the same for the next 6 teams. In the last segment, pretty much talk about anything else going on in the world of football. All right, because that's what we are. We are a football podcast. Let's get into it. Let's talk about good old Johnny Boy. All right, so Johnny Manziel, one of the most explosive, entertaining college football players of all time. Let me put it this way. All right, I'm only 21. Didn't get to watch Herschel Walker or any of those guys back then. Didn't get to watch Barry Sanders or anyone else. All right. My college football heroes and greats were Tim Tebow, Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart. Who else? There's got to be some other ones that I'm just blatantly missing, I guess. I don't know. There's a bunch, all right? But you know who the best I ever think I saw? No, the best I ever watched? Johnny Manziel. All right? It's Johnny Manziel. Best college football player, most entertaining I've ever watched in my life. All right, give me Johnny Manziel over Reggie Bush with USC. All right, believe it or not, too, I can't wait, too, because they took away Reggie Bush's Heisman, and about 10, 15, 20 years from now, I'm going to be able to tell the story about how, believe it or not, Reggie Bush did win a Heisman before. All right, it's going to be a fun one to tell. All right, but nonetheless, getting back on track. Johnny Manziel, most entertaining college football player I've ever watched in my life. Probably the best college football player I've ever watched in my life. I mean, those 2 years with him at A&M playing quarterback were ridiculous. All right, first true freshman to win the Heisman of all time. All right, beat Bama that year. Was just out of this world. Second year comes, they lose 4 or 5 games. All right, but they beat Duke in their bowl game, I believe. He had that nice little play where it looked like Duke was going to sack him. He gets out of there and somehow makes something out of nothing, how he always did. Dude was just ridiculous, all right? What Reggie Bush was doing at the running back position during his time there is what pretty much Johnny Manziel was doing at the quarterback position during his time, all right? Let's see, yeah. Johnny Manziel is the Reggie Bush of quarterbacks in college, okay? Dude was ridiculous. Gets drafted by the Browns with the 21st pick, I think it was, something around there. Man, they drafted, what was his name? Not Marcus Gilbert, Justin Gilbert, I think his name was, and then Johnny Manziel. Ooh, 0 for 2 right there. But nonetheless, they drafted Johnny, good old Johnny Boy, the Cleveland Browns did, and Johnny Manziel, believe it or not, he looked good, dare I say, with the Cleveland Browns, all right? He helped get them, they think they won 3 games with him. Yeah, they won 3 games. Since then, they've only had 1 win. Johnny Manziel's been out of the league for 2 years. All right, believe it or not. Johnny Manziel's biggest problem was that he took football for granted, all right? He did a podcast with Part of My Take, and he pretty much talked about it. He said pretty much, he was letting things that didn't matter affect him, all right? Didn't have the right people around him. Had a problem with alcohol. Just didn't function well with it in his system. All right, like I said, just took football for granted. And, we all knew that. We all saw that. Yeah, we don't really, know these players personally, but there's enough of their lives that are put out by the media and stuff like that to where you feel like you know them and you feel like you got a general idea of who they are, you know? We'll never know, who these players are, truthfully, and pretty much on a personal level. But nonetheless, the media puts out enough to where you have a general idea, all right? So none of the stuff about Johnny Manziel was surprising or anything like that. Eventually, plays his way out. He acts his way out of Cleveland. Hugh Jackson doesn't want him when he goes there, so they cut him. And ever since then, Johnny Manziel's been out the league. All right, hadn't done much since the year 2016. Said he didn't throw a football in 2016. He got drafted 2015, I believe it was. 2016 is where he's gone. 2017 he's gone. Now he's trying to make a comeback. All right, I doubt it's going to be in the NFL this year, but he does say he does have a guaranteed contract to somewhere where he will be playing football. All right. He's going to be playing football somewhere this year. I am excited for that. All right, like I said, Johnny Manziel with the Browns was not bad. Johnny Manziel with the Browns was very entertaining. Johnny Manziel with the Browns made the Browns look like not as bad of a team. All right, dude did work out there. All right, and I'm happy the fact that he seems like he's gotten his life together and he's ready to get back out there because, like I said, Johnny Manziel, the football player, was one of the most entertaining things I've ever watched in my life. All right. So whether it's in this, let's say he does go to CFL, ESPN does broadcast a few CFL games on ESPN2. If he goes to the CFL, ESPN's got to broadcast every single one of his games, all right? Because they'll get ratings. Let me tell you this. They will get ratings. I will Tune into every Johnny Manziel CFL game that is on. All right. And if he truly does have his head on straight, Johnny Manziel will dominate the CFL. Okay. Obviously, the CFL isn't like a pushover league or anything like that. I mean, it'll never come close to the quality of play of the NFL, but nonetheless, Johnny Manziel in the CFL would dominate. All right. Only if he has his head on straight, though. And it seems like he does. So, I mean, if CFL works, let's say he does go to the CFL and he's playing well, I mean, he could find himself back in the NFL. I don't doubt that. All right. Johnny Manziel also talked about how he pretty much was angry, frustrated at the fact that Cleveland picked him up and said he felt entitled, and that does sound a bit entitled to me. All right. Didn't understand that pretty much he's lucky to get drafted and all that stuff, but nonetheless, seems like he's finally got it figured out. So, looking like Johnny Manziel will be coming to a football league this year. All right, going to be interesting to see which one it is. Doubt it's going to be the NFL, so it'll probably be the CFL. But nonetheless, excited to see him out there again. So, all right, let's talk about 6 teams who haven't won a Super Bowl yet. Let's talk about the Browns. Let's talk about the Bills. Let's talk about the Texans, the Lions, the Jaguars, and the Panthers. All right. We're going to talk about each of these teams and pretty much talk about what their chances are of winning a Super Bowl anytime soon. All right, how close they are. Let's start off with the Buffalo Bills. All right, made the playoffs, got bounced in the wild card round by another team who hasn't won a Super Bowl, the Jacksonville Jaguars. How close are the Buffalo Bills to winning a Super Bowl? All right, let me put it this way: if you put Madden 2018 in your game console, all right, you start a franchise mode, you change the difficulty to rookie, then the Buffalo Bills are extremely close to winning a Super Bowl. All right, probably closer than any other team, but that's not the real Super Bowl. All right, in reality, the Bills are quite far away from winning a Super Bowl. They are a quarterback, number 1 receiver, a couple of offensive linemen, and younger defensive players away from winning a Super Bowl. All right. Plus, they got this guy named, what's his name? I think it's, Tom Brady still in that division. Bill Belichick still coaches the Patriots, I'm pretty sure. So, there's a lot holding them back from winning a Super Bowl. All right. If I had to put my money on it, will the Bills win a Super Bowl within the next 5 years? I'm betting all my entire life savings, all right, the $20 that is, that Bills have no chance at winning a Super Bowl in the next 5 years, all right? They have a lot that they need to work on. They need to find a quarterback first and foremost, okay? Tyrod Taylor isn't the guy that gets you to the Super Bowl, and I don't know, it's kind of weird because obviously we've seen that you don't need top quarterbacks to get you to the Super Bowl, all right? We saw that with, I don't even know if you can say Nick Foles. That dude was a monster for the playoffs. All right, fine. We saw that quarterbacks can get you deep into the playoffs. Not the best. You need to build solid teams around them, and the Bills got to do that first and foremost, all right? Let's say they kept Tyrod Taylor. You got to put a number 1 receiver out there. Kelvin Benjamin isn't that. I'll tell you that much, all right? Kelvin Benjamin, if you're listening, sorry, but you're not a number 1 receiver, all right? Probably going to have a nice little career, but nonetheless, will not be a number 1 receiver on any team, okay? They got to do that. You still got LaShawn McCoy out there, one of the top 5 running back, all right? And you pretty much just got to build out that receiving corps, all right? Because the rookies you drafted this season, Buffalo, did not work out. Kelvin Benjamin, like I said, could be a number 2. But nonetheless, the Bills are still pretty far away from winning a Super Bowl. All right, how about those Cleveland Browns? I mean, is there even much to say about them as far as this conversation goes? The Browns are, just finished 0-16. All right, as I like to say, wrote the final chapter of their misery book. Chapters lasted, since 1998? The book has, so about 19 years, I guess, 20 years maybe? 20 years, I think, if you're counting the year 98. So, 20 years, I think. So, there's 20 chapters of Cleveland Browns misery in one book. Okay? Someone should write that book. That'd be a great book. I would buy that book. If someone wrote a book just detailing year after year, 20-chapter book, each chapter is a Cleveland Brown season since 1998. All right? It's just called the Cleveland Brown Book of Misery. All right? I would watch that. Or I would read that. Okay? But getting back into, realistic talk, just pretty much getting back on the normal side. I mean, the Browns are still extremely far from winning a Super Bowl. All right? They do have a young team. I'll give them that. They just need to develop. They need to actually find a quarterback, someone that, you could permanently leave on that jersey, and like 15 years from now, their name will still be on the jersey and no names under that. All right. The Browns have needed a quarterback for so long. So long. All right. They are a quarterback away from being a good team and about 5 years away from being a Super Bowl team with a quarterback, all right? Whether that be Kirk Cousins, whether that be Sam Darnold, or anyone else. They need a quarterback, and they will not get anywhere unless they find one, all right? Let's go Jacksonville Jaguars. Extremely close to winning a Super Bowl. They're a better quarterback than Blake Bortles away from winning a Super Bowl, all right? So close. Having Blake Bortles as the quarterback, as when I saw that they planned on keeping him as a starter in 2018, that hurt me, all right? That broke my heart. Okay, you can't waste Super Bowl contending years if you're the Jags. You cannot. All right, you made it to the AFC Championship against the Patriots, and Blake Bortles did play well, but I don't think he can sustain his play for 16 games because he hasn't showed himself to be able to for what? How long has he been around? 4 years already? 4 years. All right, so I mean, the Jaguars are extremely close to winning a Super Bowl. All right, but I think they need a better quarterback to do it. Maybe I'm being too harsh on Blake Bortles, but maybe I'm not. All right, how about those Carolina Panthers? How close are they to winning a Super Bowl? They got pretty close a couple years ago against the Denver Broncos. I mean, just that whole thing about having playing against one of the best defenses of all time kind of hindered that opportunity. But nonetheless, I mean, Panthers are a yearly playoff team. All right, always going to be there. They're maybe a couple of lucky wins, maybe a couple of good bounces, a couple of good plays from being a Super Bowl team there. They're extremely close. All right. Cam Newton's a big game quarterback, plays well in the big time, but I mean, they still got some other stuff they need to fix. They need a true number one receiver. They got a good thing in Christian McCaffrey. You already got your franchise quarterback. Linebackers are getting older, but they're at a top level still. Got to fix up the secondary. I mean, yeah, they're a good secondary away from winning the Super Bowl, so the Panthers are extremely close. If I had to pick between the Jags and the Panthers as to who's closest, I'd have to go with the Panthers, actually. All right? So, yeah. How about the Detroit Lions? Let's see. They're one city away from winning a Super Bowl. All right, move out of Detroit, you'll get there. Just kidding. All right, I'm sorry, Detroit. I had to make a little quick joke. But nonetheless, Lions are, I don't know. The Lions should be a team that have been in the playoffs year after year. All right, they have an extremely good team, and maybe it's just the coaching that's held them back, but I'm not sure why the Lions are not a team that's constantly in the playoffs. Have a top 5 quarterback, have a really solid receiving corps. All right. Got a nice little tight end. Haven't had a real running back since Reggie Bush. I think that was the first 1,000-yard rusher they've had since Barry Sanders, maybe. All right, but nonetheless, they need running backs, and they need to sharpen up the defensive line a bit. I mean, Matt Patricia, I like that hire. Let me tell you something. I think Matt Patricia is going to be a better head coach in his first stint with a team than Josh McDaniels was in Denver. That's just a little prediction I'm making. All right, but nonetheless, I mean, Detroit, I don't know. They got to make the playoffs before anything. They got a really good team. I mean, there's no reason as to why they shouldn't be in the playoffs year after year. If they were in the playoffs year after year, I'd probably be a whole lot more optimistic about their Super Bowl chances. But they got to get in before I even talk about it. All right. So I mean, I guess they're just a really solid coaching staff away from making it to Super Bowl. And maybe Matt Patricia could be that for them. Obviously, I don't think it's going to happen this year, but it's possible if they get their things together. All right. How about the Houston Texans, the final team we'll be talking about? They are a couple years away from winning a Super Bowl. All right, Deshaun Watson comes back. Deshaun Watson plays well. I don't see why they couldn't. Dude was playing like a top 5 quarterback. For sure was a top 10 quarterback in his rookie year. All right. This team, like I said, they're just a couple more years away. That's it. You already got a good defense. Already got a great offense. You've just been missing a quarterback, and it looks like they've got it. So if Deshaun Watson comes back, ACL is healed up, and it's looking like it's not going to hinder him going forward. I mean, Texans aren't really far off. All right, let me rank these teams that I've talked about. All right, so let's start from the bottom. All right, the Browns will go at number 6, Buffalo at number 5, Detroit at number 4. I'm gonna go Houston at number 3, Jacksonville at number 2, and Carolina at number 1. All right. Those are my rankings for teams, those chances of getting to winning a Super Bowl. All right, those are how I rank them. All right, so for the next segment, we're going to be talking about the Falcons, the Bengals, the Cardinals, the Chargers, the Vikings, and the Titans. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
To the GSMC Football Podcast. So far on today's show, we talked about, what did we talk about? We talked about Colts getting their head coach, Frank Reich, a former offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. Talked about different coaches between the Patriots and Eagles. Talked about Johnny Manziel. Talked about 6 teams who haven't won the Super Bowl, how close they are now. And we're going to finish off today's show talking about the final 6 that haven't. All right, so we're going to be talking about the Atlanta Falcons, the Bengals, the Cardinals, the Chargers, the Vikings, the Titans. And I think, you know what, we're just going to end up ranking them all at the end. All right, I did rank the first 6 teams I talked about in the last segment, but I'm just going to end up ranking them all at the end. All right. So let's start off with the Atlanta Falcons, okay? Haven't won a Super Bowl yet. Am I surprised? No, because Atlanta is just a cursed sports city, all right? You got a team like the Hawks in the NBA who were good for, it felt like 8 years in a row. That's it, though. They were just a team who made the playoffs and got bounced in the second round year after year. So, there's that. Braves really haven't won anything in a while. So, we have the Falcons, all right? Could have won a Super Bowl last year, all right? Let's go back to the Patriots and Falcons Super Bowl. Atlanta Falcons fans, I hope you're listening, all right? So, there was a point in last year's Super Bowl where the Falcons were up 28-3, up by 25 points. No one could ever blow that kind of lead, right? No, impossible. No way. Never been done in the Super Bowl. Falcons say, wait up. Yes, there will be, all right? They gave up 25 unanswered to the Patriots and lost in overtime. All right, lost by a score of 34-28. They lost because of bad coaching. They lost because Kyle Shanahan refused to run the ball in the second half. All right, probably worst second half coaching I've ever seen in my life. All right, that was just one of the all-time greatest collapses of all, just all-time great collapse. Let's just put it that way. All right, this year they made the playoffs, won the wild card game against the Rams, looked good. Then they lose to the Eagles 15-10. All right. That game against the Rams was probably their best game of the season. And other than that, the Falcons really didn't look good at all this season. At all. All right. At all. Struggled. Offense didn't look really... The offense never really put it together. All right. Like I said, that Rams game is just the outlier there. For the rest of the other, what was it? They played 18. Yeah, for the rest of the 16 games that they played, or 17, I guess you could say. Yeah, 17 games. Offense didn't look good at all. Sometimes they'd put it together. Sometimes, it just didn't look good. Let me say, because there were times where they put up 30 points in a game. But let me say this. They didn't look good for 4 quarters, really, much of the season. All right? They just really couldn't put together a solid performance, okay? One thing was working, the other wasn't. So, as far as the Falcons getting back to the Super Bowl, they do have a nice little solid chance. All right, they do have a good team. You do have a quarterback like Matt Ryan, who you're going to have to pay eventually, but nonetheless, you still got him, Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, solid number 2 in Mohamed Sanu. All right, and then you got a really nice, solid, quick, young defense that can come up with stops. All right, but you still have Steve Sarkisian as your offensive coordinator. That's where they were hurting this year. All right. That dude does not know how to run an offense in the NFL. That offense was brutal all year. So, they're still pretty close. Maybe Steve Sarkisian figures it out. But I think they're just an offensive coordinator away from winning a Super Bowl. All right? Maybe they move the team out of Atlanta like Detroit should move out of Detroit. Maybe they win one that way. All right? Let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. How far are they? They're pretty far away. All right? Quite the walk to get there. All right, quite the distance to get there, I should say. Okay, it seemed like at one point they did have their franchise quarterback in Andy Dalton because the guy looked good. Okay, looked like they were going to be a really good team going forward because you got guys like AJ Green, you had nice little 1-2 duo on Jeremy Hill, Giovanni Bernard, and your defense was young and playing well. But for some reason, the last 2 years, the Cincinnati Bengals just really haven't put it together at all. All right? They just haven't looked good the last couple of years. And they're still pretty far away from winning a Super Bowl. They're, like with Andy Dalton, I don't think that they even sniffed the Super Bowl. All right? It's just like these are the years where they're going to be a nice little team, but, I mean, it's not going to be a Super Bowl winning team. Super Bowl. All right? It's just one of, like, they're like the Atlanta Hawks. Okay? They're going to make playoffs and stuff like that, but they'll never, like, they've gotten bounced in the playoffs in the first round of the wild card game, divisional round game, whatever one they've played in, like, year after year. It was almost like Marvin Lewis's go-to, okay? But now, like I said, like those years are behind. Now I'm not even sure if they're going to make the playoffs. So, I mean, the Bengals are still pretty far away from winning a Super Bowl, all right? And I'm not sure when they'll ever even get back to the playoffs. So they still got a lot they got to work on, all right? You got to fix up the D-line, got to fix up the O-line, and pretty much hope Andy Dalton figures out how to play quarterback again. All right. As for the Arizona Cardinals, I mean, you had it against the Steelers that one year, but San Antonio Holmes destroyed that dream for you guys. All right, remember Larry Fitzgerald scoring that touchdown, arms out. Oh, yeah, we're going to win. Ben Roethlisberger says, no, you're not. All right, so the Cardinals, I mean, they're a great quarterback away from winning a Super Bowl. They're a Kurt Warner away from winning a Super Bowl. All right, still got a solid team. Still got David Johnson, who's going to be coming back off of an injury. Still got Larry Fitzgerald, the ageless wonder. All right, still got a really solid defense. They're a solid quarterback away from winning a Super Bowl. Okay, like let's say they sign Kirk Cousins or something like that. I mean, that wouldn't help them win. You still need to put more around it, but they're more of like a top 5, top 10 quarterback away from winning the Super Bowl. All right, Kirk Cousins, yeah, you could argue he's top 10, but I think he's more like 11, 12 range. Okay. As for the Chargers, a team who should have won a Super Bowl when they had Rivers in his prime and LaDainian Tomlinson out there. All right, ridiculous that they never did. That was probably one of the greatest teams to never win a Super Bowl. All right, and that window, like we always used to talk, right, is that when's that window shutting? Is the window shutting? And sure enough, that window's shut. All right, the Chargers should have won a Super Bowl already. All right, but Phillip Rivers for some reason just cannot beat Tom Brady. All right. The Chargers should have had one already by far, but for some reason they just can't get over the hump. They can't close it when it matters. They are not clutch. All right. They just can't do it. I don't know why, but they can't. All right. The team they have now is a pretty good team. Probably the favorites in the AFC West. Okay, as of right now, before the draft, before free agent, they're probably the favorites in the AFC West. But I don't know. Is this team a team that could beat the Patriots? Could they beat the Jags? Could they beat the Steelers? Probably not. All right. I mean, maybe they could get to the AFC Championship, but sure enough, they'll do what they always do and just lose in heartbreaking fashion. So, I mean, the Chargers, I'm not sure really what they need to win a Super Bowl. They need to get the little voodoo curse that's on them out. They need to figure out a way to reverse that curse. All right. They do that, they get to the Super Bowl and they win it. All right. How about the Minnesota Vikings? Got to the NFC Championship. Speaking of teams best teams to never win a Super Bowl, that team with was it Randall Cunningham or Dante Culpepper as a quarterback? You had Randy Moss, Chris Carter, I think it was. All right, that team never won a Super Bowl. This year, they were in the NFC Championship, were the favorites against the Eagles and got blown out. What was it, 38-7? Case Keenum had the worst game of his season. All right, Minnesota, they're, like I said, like the Cardinals, they're a real solid quarterback away from winning a Super Bowl. All right, they have a nice little team built. You got solid running backs, you got solid receivers, and you got a great defense. All you need is that quarterback to get you over the hump. All right? So, I mean, Minnesota's not far off, but they need to figure out that quarterback position. And as for the final team, the Tennessee Titans, how far away are they from winning the Super Bowl? Pretty far. Okay? Marcus Mariota had a real down year. Hired offensive coordinator from the Rams, Matt LaFleur, to come be their offensive coordinator. I liked it. All right, Mike Vrabel's the head coach. Made the playoffs this past year, but didn't look good, but made the playoffs nonetheless. So, I mean, maybe they're not that far off. All right, maybe your Derrick Henry breakout season, Marcus Mariota top 10 quarterback season away from being a Super Bowl contender. Actually, you got to fix up that defense too. You got to fix up that secondary. Turns out that Adoree Jackson is just the track star playing cornerback. That's it. All right, so you got to fix up the secondary, fix up the rest of the defense. And after that, I mean, you still got to worry about the rest of the teams in the AFC South, but you still have a pretty solid chance if you do all that. So that's all I got to say about those 6 teams right there. Now let's rank them from 1 to 12. All right, actually, let's rank 1 to 6, the teams I talked about, and then we'll finish doing 1 to 12, all right? So let's go Minnesota at number 1, Atlanta at number 2, the Chargers at number 3, the Titans at number 4, Cardinals at number 5, Bengals at number 6, all right? So those are the 6 rankings for the teams I just talked about. Now let's do the full 12-team rankings, okay? So we'll start from the bottom. All right, at number 12, I have the Cleveland Browns. At number 11, I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. Actually, at number 11, I'll go with Buffalo Bills. Number 10, Cincinnati. Okay. Number 9, I got to go Arizona. Number 8, Tennessee. Number 7, the Chargers. Number 6, the Lions. Number 5, I'll go with the Texans. Number 4, the Falcons. Number 3, number 4, the Falcons. Number 3, the Vikings. Number 2, the Jags. Number 1, the Panthers. All right, those are my rankings as for teams' best chances to win a Super Bowl. All right, so that, believe it or not, that's going to wrap up today's show. Today we talked about the Colts getting their head coach, Frank Reich. Talked about team cultures in the NFL. Talked mainly about the Patriots and Eagles. Talked about Johnny Manziel. And for the rest of the show, we talked about teams who haven't won a Super Bowl and what their chances are looking like to win one eventually. So, like I said, that's going to wrap it up for today. Thanks for listening to the GSMC Football Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. Again, new schedule for the offseason. We're going Tuesdays and Thursdays. So, like I said, we'll be back on Thursday. So stay tuned, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.